All right, so are you ready for this one? We're diving deep into the Incredible Hulk.
Diving deep is right.
You guys weren't kidding with the source material.
Oh, no.
This is a mountain of Hulk stuff.
Yes.
Decades worth of comics.
Absolutely.
And it's clear you want to get the full picture on this guy.
Yeah.
Like, not just Hulk smash, but like origins, powers, key moments.
And the psychology of it all.
But like, what makes this character so enduring?
Exactly.
So get ready, because this deep dive is going to be a smash.
It certainly will be. And to really appreciate the Hulk, we have to go beyond the surface level. Like you were just saying, beyond Hulk smash. We have to start with Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
The man behind the monster.
So we're talking like really digging into the psychology here.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just a simple get angry turn big situation. The Hulk story is really a story about trauma and how that trauma can manifest in monstrous and sometimes even strangely transformative ways.
Okay, so you're really saying to understand the Hulk, we got to start with his childhood.
Absolutely. We have to go back to the beginning. Before the Gamma, before the Hulk. To the childhood of Bruce Banner.
Okay, so childhood trauma. That's kind of a heavy way to start talking about the Hulk.
Well, you know, it's not a light topic.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So what kind of childhood experiences are we talking about here?
Well, imagine growing up with fear as your constant companion. Not fear of monsters under the bed, but fear of your own father.
Oh, wow.
Bruce's dad, Brian Banner, was a brilliant atomic physicist, but he was also deeply troubled. And he was convinced that his work, his exposure to radiation, had mutated him, and that Bruce had inherited this perceived monstrosity.
So the dad thought Bruce was a mutant, even before the whole Gamma accident thing.
Yeah.
That's some heavy foreshadowing right there.
Talk about foreshadowing.
Okay, but how did that fear actually manifest? Was Brian, like, distant, or was he...
Distant would have been a mercy. Brian Banner was physically and emotionally abusive to Bruce.
Oh, wow.
He was convinced that Bruce's gentle nature and his intellect were proof of this monstrous mutation. So this constant abuse, this fear-driven rejection, it left these deep scars on Bruce's psyche. Wounds that would fester long after Bruce left that house.
Man, that's just heartbreaking. Like, it really reframes the whole Hulk's rage thing, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just superpowers. It's like this outpouring of all this suppressed pain and fear and resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did young Bruce cope with this incredibly difficult childhood?
Well, he found solace in two places. The world of books and the companionship of his cousin Jennifer Walters.
Oh, yeah, Jennifer Walters.
Okay.
Now, she is an interesting character.
Very interesting.
And she plays a big part in the Hulk story later on.
Absolutely. Keep her in mind.
Right, yeah.
But for young Bruce, books offered him an escape. And Jennifer's presence gave him a sense of normalcy and connection that he so desperately craved.
Yeah, you needed that.
He did. But even with those bright spots, there was this reservoir of rage building within him, this pressure yearning for release.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And then, of course, comes the catalyst, the event that splits Bruce Banner's life into the before and after, the Gamma bomb test.
Right.
And here he is, trying to do some good in the world,
Right.
trying to save Rick Jones. And it all goes so wrong.
It does.
But it becomes the stuff of legend.
It really does. And this is where things get really interesting. Because we get into this concept of the green door.
Okay, the Queen
This
did.
idea from the comics
Okay.
that the Gamma explosion didn't just mutate Bruce on a physical level, but it blasted open this metaphysical barrier, a link to something called the below place.
The below place. What is that?
Imagine a realm of pure gamma energy, a source of unimaginable power, but also a place of death and rebirth.
Whoa, okay.
And in that one terrifying instant, Bruce Banner died,
Oh,
and the Hulk was born.
and to make things even more complex, the Hulk wasn't always green.
Right.
There was that whole gray Hulk phase in the beginning.
Exactly, that initial gray Hulk, only transforming at night. It's our first clue that this isn't a simple Jekyll and Hyde situation.
Right.
This is a psyche fractured and reforged in the crucible of trauma.
Wow.
And the emergence of different Hulks is just beginning.
Okay, you're definitely making me think differently about the Hulk already. And we haven't even gotten to the different Hulks yet, so we'll have to save that for part 2.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're back and ready to unpack these Hulk personas.
Yes, let's dive into that.
Last time we were talking about Bruce Banner's childhood
Yeah.
and how all that trauma
Oh yeah, all that fear and abuse.
really set the stage for the Hulk.
It's like the foundation of the Hulk psyche, right?
Exactly. So I'm guessing that plays a huge role in these different versions of the Hulk that we see in the comics.
Absolutely. It's not just one size fits all with the Hulk.
Right.
It's like his psyche is the shattered mirror, and each Hulk reflects a different shard of his experiences, his fears, his unmet needs.
Okay, that's a cool visual. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's break down some of these Hulks. We've got the classic, the green rage monster.
The one and only.
It's one everyone knows, Savage Hulk. What's at the core of this Hulk?
Savage Hulk, that's pure, unadulterated rage, but it's also the closest we get to Bruce's wounded inner child.
Interesting, because when you see him raging out, it's like, yeah, he's a terrifying monster.
Yeah.
But there's also this
almost childlike quality. Yeah. Think about it. He's strongest when he's enraged, lashes out with this primal fury, barely even speaks in full sentences.
It's all Hulk smash and Hulk want to be left alone.
Exactly. It's all instinct, raw emotion.
Yeah.
Like a child throwing a tantrum because they don't have the words to express their pain.
Wow. When you put it like that, it makes those Hulk smash moments almost feel kind of
tragic a little bit, right?
Okay, so we've got the raging child. But then there's the Great Hulk.
Yes, Joe Fixit.
Joe Fixit. Yeah. The one who spent some time as a Las Vegas enforcer.
Right.
He seems like a completely different Hulk.
Yeah.
He's less Hulk smash and more like Hulk make you an offer you can't refuse.
Exactly. Joe Fixit is fascinating. He's cunning, more in control of himself, able to plan and strategize.
Yeah, he's got that whole different vibe.
He does. And he's weaker than the Savage Hulk in terms of raw power.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I would have thought.
Oh, no.
Interesting.
He's definitely weaker than the Savage Hulk, but he makes up for it with street smarts and a certain ruthlessness.
Right, he's got that cunning.
He does.
That edge.
Exactly. If Savage Hulk is the wounded child, Joe Fixit is the rebellious teenager that Bruce never got to be.
I see it. Skipping that whole adolescence thing. Because his life went so sideways.
Right.
He never got to test those boundaries, explore his identity.
He never got to sow those wild oats.
And it comes out in this alternate Hulk form.
Exactly.
Okay, so then what about the merged Hulk? Professor Hulk, is that like the adult Bruce?
You guys.
The one who finally got his act together?
You're catching on the merged Hulk, or Professor Hulk as he's sometimes called. That's the closest we get to an integrated version of Bruce Banner.
Okay, so he's got Bruce's intelligence, but with the Hulk strength.
Exactly. He's got the best of both worlds in a lot of ways.
And he's capable of actual, compassion and strategic thinking.
Absolutely. He's the Hulk that can hold a conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe even back it up with some actual intelligence.
Right. This is like Bruce Banner if he had gone through therapy. Worked through his issues. Instead of just turning into a giant green rage monster.
Right. But even this Hulk, this seemingly ideal version, he has a tragic flaw.
A tragic flaw, Professor Hulk. What could be tragic about Professor Hulk?
Well, remember, Bruce is haunted by the fear of hurting others.
Right.
He sees the Hulk as this destructive force that needs to be contained.
Yeah.
So with the merged Hulk, there's this subconscious failsafe.
A failsafe.
Yeah. If he gets too angry, if he gets too close to losing control, he reverts back to Banner.
So even at his most stable, Bruce's trauma is still holding the Hulk back.
In a way, yes.
Man, that's rough.
It is a tragic element to the character.
It really is. And here's the thing that blows my mind. Those aren't even all the Hulks.
Oh, no, not even close.
There are even more out there.
Oh, yeah.
Lurking in the darkest corners of Bruce Banner's psyche.
There are even more monstrous unnamed versions out there.
Really?
Absolutely.
What, like scarier than Savage Hulk?
Oh, much scarier.
Oh, wow.
These Hulks represent the rawest, most primal aspects of his being. The parts of himself that he tries desperately to keep buried.
So it's like Bruce's inner world is this vast, untamed landscape. And each Hulk is a different region shaped by trauma and gamma radiation.
That's a great way to put it.
So we've got the wounded child, the rebellious teen, the flawed adult, and then these even darker versions lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly. It's a whole lot more complicated than your average superhero psychology.
You can say that again.
It really makes you think about the limits of such a fractured psyche.
And speaking of limits, or lack thereof, we haven't even touched on the Hulk's incredible power levels. We've been talking about how strong he is and the different versions of him.
Yeah.
But how strong is strong when it comes to the Hulk?
Right.
I mean, some of the things I've read in these comics.
It's ridiculous.
It's like, is there even a limit?
That's the question, isn't it?
So last time we were talking about the Hulk's strength.
Oh, yeah.
And if it even has a limit.
Right, because he sees...
Because some of the stuff in these comics, it's like, come on.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Like, he's strong.
He's really strong.
But is it limitless?
Well, that's the thing about the Hulk. His strength isn't just about muscle and bone.
Right. It's got to be more than that.
It's tied to something way more potent. His rage. That raw emotional energy.
Yeah.
And the very nature of gamma radiation itself.
Okay, so we're talking about forces that bend reality.
Oh, absolutely.
That tap into something almost metaphysical.
We're getting into some pretty heavy stuff here.
Yeah, this is way beyond just like, oh, he's really strong because he lifts weights.
Oh, yeah.
This is another level.
This is next level strength.
But like, let's break it down. Is his strength truly limitless? Like some of these stories suggest.
Well,
because holding up a mountain, that's impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
But is that his ceiling?
Well, you've seen what he can do in the source material, right?
Right.
Holding up collapsing mountains, resisting attacks that could shatter planets.
I mean, that's just absurd.
It's insane.
It really is.
And even cosmic entities, beings beyond human comprehension. They've implied there's no calculable upper limit to the Hulk's strength.
So there's no way to actually measure it.
Not real.
So it's all tied to his rage.
To a certain extent, yes.
The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets.
Basically.
And we've already established that there's no limit to that rage.
Right. It's like a bottomless well of anger.
It's a terrifying thought.
It's a little frightening when you think about it.
So it's like a feedback loop.
Exactly.
A fury.
Yeah. Yeah.
This terrifying upward spiral with no end in sight.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay. So we've talked about his strength.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing that makes him so powerful.
Oh, no.
What about his healing factor?
Right.
The guy's practically invincible.
Almost invincible.
The guy heals from anything.
It's true. The Hulk's regenerative abilities are legendary.
I mean, gunshots, stab wounds. I even read that he once survived having his heart ripped out.
That's right.
And he just regenerated on the spot.
Instantly.
Like it was nothing.
Basically.
I mean, what?
It's pretty remarkable.
How do you even fight something like that?
You almost can't.
And then on top of all that, he's incredibly difficult to mind control.
Oh, that's a whole other story.
Right.
It's virtually impossible.
Even Professor X.
Even Professor X, the world's most powerful telepath. He struggled with the Hulk.
Really?
No, yeah.
I mean, Professor X, he can get inside anyone's head.
Right, he can control minds with ease.
But not the Hulk's?
No, the Hulk's mind is just too chaotic, too full of raw psychic energy.
It's like trying to have a conversation in the middle of a hurricane.
That's a good analogy.
Right. And then there's the whole gamma thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's practically glowing green most of the time.
He is a walking gamma battery.
So does he have any actual control over it?
That's a good question.
Or is it just a byproduct of his mutation?
It's more nuanced than that.
Oh.
He's constantly emitting gamma radiation.
Right. Which is dangerous in itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if he's just hanging out.
Even if he's just sitting there reading a comic book.
Right.
He's a hazard.
But there are instances in the comics where he absorbs it.
Right.
Manipulates.
But he directs it.
So it's not just a passive thing.
No, he definitely has some level of conscious control over it.
Okay, so he's this walking, talking gamma reactor.
Basically.
And after all these years, we're still trying to figure out what he can really do.
And that's the beauty of the Hulk.
Right.
He's always evolving, always surprising us.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Origins,
Yes.
the psychology,
The different Hulks.
the power.
The sheer, unadulterated power.
But what is it about this character that resonates so deeply with people?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Why, after all these decades, does the Hulk continue to fascinate us?
I think it's the duality of the character.
What do you mean?
Well, on the one hand, he's this engine of destruction, this force of nature that can level cities with a single step.
Right.
But on the other hand, he's a reflection of our own internal struggles.
Oh, interesting.
That fear of losing control, the desire for connection despite feeling different. Even monstrous.
Okay, so he's like a walking paradox.
In a way, yes.
This terrifying force of nature.
Yeah.
But also this deeply relatable figure.
Exactly.
And we haven't even talked about Bruce Banner.
Right.
And that whole other layer of tragedy.
Absolutely.
This guy who's constantly carrying the burden of responsibility for the Hulk's actions.
The guilt, the weight of the world on his shoulders.
And it's not just that he feels bad about it.
Right.
He's actively trying to atone for it.
He's constantly searching for a cure.
Right.
Trying to use his intelligence for good.
To make up for the destruction that the Hulk causes.
Exactly.
That's what makes him different from a lot of other superheroes.
It is. He's not just fighting villains.
Right.
He's fighting himself.
He's fighting this constant internal battle.
Yes. And that resonates with people.
Because we all have those internal struggles.
We do.
Just maybe not on a giant green rage monster scale.
Right. But, we all have our demons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an incredible journey.
It has been fascinating.
I mean, all this from a stack of comics.
It's amazing what you can learn from these stories.
It really is. And for our listeners out there, what resonates with you about the Hulk? What part of his story, his struggles, his power, intrigues you the most?
What makes you keep coming back for more?
Because this is just the beginning of the deep dive.
Exactly.
And we can't wait to see where it takes you. And for everyone else, make sure you subscribe and join us next time as we explore another fascinating topic.
Sounds good.
Until then, keep diving.